on first down. They hand off to Marlon Mack. Huge hole, 50-yard line. He's at the 40, still going near sideline. He's at the 10. He's at the 5, and he will score. Touchdown, Marlon Mack. Touchdown, I-N-D-Y. And again, it's picked off. It's Darius Leonard. Leonard with a second INT, and he's streaking down the near sideline. He's at the 40. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's gonna go. A pick 6 for the Maniac.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
What is going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Bring the Juice Colts podcast. Crazy, crazy, crazy. We are 7 days away from Colts kickoff. Can you believe it? The Colts kickoff in Jacksonville next Sunday at 1 p.m. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe that football is here. I can't believe that Thursday Night Football is back in a couple days here. It is wild to me. It is football season. I'm so excited. And with that, I wanted to kind of create a little bit of a hype video for you guys. And I kind of wanted to look at 5 reasons why you should be ecstatic about the Colts in the 2020 NFL season. Let's get right to it. Number 5, run the ball. I don't want to say the word, but run the dang ball. Right? We know this is a mantra of Frank Reich because it's been a mantra of him since last year. He wanted the Colts to be a top 5 rushing team. Didn't happen last year. So what does he do? He goes out and drafts Jonathan Taylor in the second round, adds a little bit more to that backfield, and now they got it really good. As Nick Sirianni, the offensive coordinator, said it, a good 1-1 punch. So Matt can wear the defense down, or Taylor can wear the defense down, and they can continue to build off each other. We think it's going to be great in terms of durability for both these guys, especially Mac. He hasn't been durable, really. Hasn't played all 16 games since he's been drafted, and so we think this is going to really serve him super well. And also just looking at the new quarterback the Colts brought in and their passing attack. I mean, really, Phillip Rivers last year, he did not have a running attack. I believe they were 28th in the league last year, were the Chargers. And so Phillip Rivers had to do everything by himself with Melvin Gordon banged up. And so now the Colts were 7th last year. They add a guy like Jonathan Taylor into their backfield. You got to think they're going to be one of the top, most efficient teams in the league this next year. That's going to help Rivers so much. He's not going to be forced to throw it 30, 40 times a game, right? He's going to have the opportunity now to really be careful. Maybe he's not going to, Phillip Rivers is never going to be careful with the ball, but it's going to limit the turnovers because the Colts are going to be able to establish the run and rely on that. They're not going to have to play from behind. They're going to be able to control the tempo a little bit more than the Chargers were last year. So I think that's a really a big reason to get excited for this team because it really helps everybody on that offense. When you can run the football, your passing attack is going to flourish as well. Speaking of quarterbacks, the Colts can get to the quarterback a little bit more better than they have in the past this season. They're going to get more pressure on the quarterback, right? And obviously the Colts last year, rightfully so, felt like their interior pressure was not good enough. They had 3.5 sacks in total out of their 3 technique position. With the scheme that the Colts run with that cover 2 scheme, I mean, if you're not getting interior pressure, your defense is going to die, and it's going to live and die on the production of that 3 technique. And really, ever since the Colts in the past 2 decades, they have not had a player of this caliber. When they acquired DeForest Buckner from the 49ers this year, they have not had a player even come close to this caliber. Top 5 player easily at his position. Then you add some depth with Sheldon Day. You draft Robert Windsor, who didn't make the final 53-man, but he looked pretty good in practice. He's probably going to be a practice squad guy. Can come up if need be. Tyquan Lewis is looking really good in his 3rd year. Ben Banagou's looking really good in his 2nd year. And then Justin Houston, we know what he can provide. He had 11 sacks last year. And Al-Qadim Muhammad's another name. He's gotten a lot better at the pass rush as well. He's been working with Warren Sapp this offseason. Certainly seems like it's trending up for him. And then we didn't even mention Komoko Turi. Unfortunately, Ture's going to be forced to miss the first 6 weeks of the season. That stinks for the Colts and stinks for Ture. But on the good news, he was really showing out when he was healthy last year. So if you can get him back by week 7 fully healthy, I mean, this pass rush is going to hit home so much more than it did in the past. And really, when you can get to the quarterback, it's going to help all the layers of your defense. Last year, the Colts struggled in the secondary because they just couldn't get pressure at the quarterback at times. They'd have games where they really got pressure, and they'd have games where they were really inconsistent. Hopefully, the addition of Buckner specifically can really help them even that out a little bit more. So overall, there's a lot of room for optimism, a lot of new names, and a lot of guys coming back who we think have improved from last year. So lots of room for optimism on that front. Now, staying with the quarterback, the Colts improved massively this offseason at the quarterback position. They addressed it not once but twice. First off, they signed quarterback Phillip Rivers to a one-year, $25 million deal. Last year, the Colts had the 30th ranked passing offense. And say what you want about Phillip Rivers, it was not by any means one of his better seasons last year. He had a lot of interceptions, not enough touchdowns. But there's a lot of factors into that, right? He was playing from behind a lot of times. He didn't have an offensive line. Like I mentioned, he didn't have a running game. So Phillip Rivers was really trying to do it all himself. Now, I'll grant you this. He did have a pretty good receiving core and tight end core. So that'll be interesting to see how that clicks with the Colts. But, Phillip Rivers is due for a lot better season. He goes from one of the worst offensive lines to one of the best. I think that's just going to help him so much. And then obviously, Jacoby Brissett last year, he was decent, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit because he kind of got thrust into the starting position 2 weeks before the season. And he played pretty decent. I would say he wasn't like, I know some people even said he was like an MVP candidate. He was nowhere near there. He was a decent game manager for the first couple weeks when the Colts were 5-2 in that stretch. But overall, it became more and more evidently clear that the Colts needed to upgrade at the quarterback position. I mean, it was no doubt the Colts had to upgrade. They do that by signing Rivers, and they also draft Jacob Eason in the 4th round. This guy, some people were saying before the draft, he could go in the 2nd round. The Colts nab him in the 4th round. He's got a big arm. Seems like he's doing really well in camp from what everybody has said. So that's certainly great news that the Colts have double-dipped in the quarterback department. You don't really know what you're going to get with Jacob Eason. I mean, we've said before on this podcast, the lack of preseason games kind of hurts his development here in year 1, but certainly some positive signs from camp from what we've heard. But Phillip Rivers is really going to drive this thing at least this year, and the Colts really feel like they massively upgraded at quarterback, and I definitely agree with them because Phillip Rivers had a top 10 passing offense last year, despite everything that was falling around him. So I think that, the first off, the offensive line, the running game, and all that stuff can really help Phillip Rivers have a bounce back year, closer to that 2018 Phillip Rivers than the 2019 one. Number 2, I want to talk about this for a second. The Colts roster overall, from the top end talent all the way to the 53rd man on the roster, it is so talented and so deep. I mean, I would go to war and I would argue with people that the Colts have a top 5 roster in terms of 1 to 53. I mean, you think of it even last year, with Andrew Luck, a lot of people were putting the Colts in the Super Bowl conversation. And what do the Colts do? They go and upgrade one of the most critical positions on the defense. And they do a lot of other different things in the offseason to improve. They draft Taylor, they draft Michael Pittman, they get some guys back healthy. And the great thing with this roster is, unfortunately, injuries happen in the NFL, right? We all know this. They happen. But the great thing is that even if an injury happens on the Colts, they have pretty good depth at every position to be able to withstand that. You don't want any injuries, but when they do happen, you do have a little bit of depth there. So that's great news for the Colts. I mean, you should be really excited about just overall, this team is a very, very solid team. They're very, very put together, and we know, unlike a lot of other sports, the NFL specifically, if not all guys are clicking, you can't really be competitive. If you don't have all guys that are contributing in a big way, you can't be competitive. Like with basketball, you can have a couple superstars, you can be competitive, you could be championship contenders. But with football, man, if all 11 guys aren't in sync, it's not going to work. And the great thing is the Colts seem like they have a lot of talented guys that work really well together, so there should be a lot of room for optimism. Chris Ballard, the GM, has done a great job of acquiring this talent so far for the Colts. So as a Colts fan, there should be a lot of room for optimism going into this season. And then let me just segue into the number 1 here. Talking about Chris Ballard, the GM, let's talk about him and Frank Reich. Chris Ballard is one of the best GMs, one of the best talent evaluators in the league. And likewise, Frank Reich, the coach he hired, is one of the best coaches, one of the best play callers in the league. He's very innovative. He does a lot of great things. And now you give him more chess pieces this year and a quarterback to boot that you think he has familiarity with him. You think that's going to help him a lot. And also just the staffs that they have assembled are phenomenal. I mean, Chris Ballard has really gotten great executive guys in there with him, great scouts. They've been able to find some mid to late round gems in the last couple years. And then Frank Reich has just assembled a really good squad of coaches that are really emphasizing the whole idea of being teachers. I mean, we saw it this year when the Colts added the new defensive line coach, Brian Baker. Some of these second and third year guys, they just took off, right? They were guys that I had labeled like Tyquan Lewis, a draft bust. We didn't see much from Ben Banigou last year. They are popping off so far in camp. It's great to see. And so that is super exciting. It should be super exciting for Colts fans. I'm super excited about the potential with all these coaches and all the people that are put in under Chris Ballard. So super, super exciting. I hope you guys are as excited as I am for Colts season. I cannot believe it's almost here. 1 week till the Colts go down in Jacksonville and they stomp the Jaguars. Hopefully we can start off 1-0 for the first time since 2013. That is crazy. But this is the year to do it. This is the year to do it. Supremely more talented than the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know we struggle down there, but I feel like this is the year that we're going to do it. So thanks, guys, so much. And as always, go Colts.